at no cost. Call us. We're ready to help.
Everyone's scoring with Jimmy from his house.
Would you guys mind making love? It'll be the first time, baby.
This week, it's Lisa Kudrow, Sean Penn, Dakota Johnson, and Howie Mandel.
Well, I'd watch that.
Jimmy Kimmel Live from his house. New all this week on ABC.
Chevy cares and McCluskey Chevrolet cares. So we're providing no payments until September and a free lifetime warranty forever.
McCluskey Chevrolet. Lower prices, lower rates.
Opportunities to find work and get back on your feet. The Rebound, Cincinnati.
We are continuing to monitor breaking news in downtown Cincinnati now. For those of you who have been following with us most of the evening, protests over the death of George Floyd continue now here in the 11:30 hour. We have followed this as they started at the Hamilton County Courthouse downtown hours ago and moved through over the Rhine, the protesters marching through over the Rhine, ending up at one point closing both sides of I-75. They have now moved back downtown. We want to get out to Kristen Swilley, who is live outside the Hamilton County Justice Center. Kristen, I can see behind you the windows there have been broken out at this hour.
Yeah, good evening, Evan. As you just said, we are really seeing our first real evidence of any sort of property damage. Let me go ahead and step out of the way. You can see it's a fairly good-sized window, one of the main panels out here in front of the Justice Center. No word of anyone being injured or anything like that. Obviously, there's not a big crowd out here at the moment. Most people have seemed to move on. We're not sure where the largest crowd is at this point, but there's no word of any officers, any protesters being hurt at this point. I'm going to go and step back into frame here. I can tell you, I just got out here within the past 5 to 10 minutes. I've heard a couple of pops. I'm not sure exactly what those are, but that is just some of the noise that we've heard. But overall, the demeanor of the people that are sort of meandering about at this point, pretty calm, but obviously things were not that way however long ago this took place. We'll stay on top of it and let you know what we learned out here on scene. Reporting live, Kristen Swilley, WCPO 9 News.
Kristen, while I have you right now, I want to ask you a question because we have now heard from a number of people that this crowd moved from the Justice Center and may still be on the move. Do you know which direction they've gone? What was the mood like? What are people there telling you about this? And is there an end in sight for this?
Well, Evan, it seems like most of the crowd has moved a little bit more over towards the courthouse. People have also moved further down the street here on Sycamore, so it's not, we're not seeing too many people around me right now. And again, the energy seems to have really shifted from being around here at the JC. When I arrived here on scene, I was really just seeing a window broken out and a crowd of only about 10 or 15 people still here. So most people seem to have moved on to, Central Avenue, and that seems to be where most people are at this moment. But I'm not seeing a whole bunch of running, a whole bunch of fighting, or a whole bunch of people holding signs or anything like that at this point.
Kristen, it looks behind you like it is one, maybe two of those windows at the front of the Justice Center. Can you describe the extent of that damage for us a little bit?
Sure. So it is just one of the very large panels out here. That's all that we've seen. Didn't have a chance to really do a full circle of the Justice Center out here. But as I step out of the way, and Evan, you've been down here before. You're familiar with the large glass paneling, the large windows when you make your way into the Justice Center down here, either for visitation or to go to a courtroom proceeding. That is what we're seeing. And it's not near where, of course, the inmates are, and it is not really where most of the officers are regularly working, but it is in the entryway where someone might wait for someone might be anticipating visitation. Again, there's no reason to think that anyone would be able to get out because one of the windows is broken, but it is one very large window, I'd say about 10, 12 feet tall.
And Kristen, we see some deputies standing there at the exit where they release inmates when they are released, but where this damage is very close to the security checkpoint for anyone who's going in for a court appearance there in that part of the Justice Center if they're in court there. And it looks like people behind you are are just there to take pictures, observe. They look like they were dancing around back there. So is it safe to say the protests have moved from this location elsewhere?
That is absolutely safe to say. It seems to be a lot of people who may have been involved in this earlier, but as these things evolve, people break off and they don't appear to be really involved with any demonstration at this point. They're people nosy and wanting to be down here and get a closer look themselves, like a lot of people are. Some people who actually live down here as well. So just trying to see about what they heard about happening down here.
And Kristen, we just heard some sirens go off in the background there where you are. We are now hearing that this crowd has moved to Pendleton, to the area around what will soon be the Hard Rock Casino, known as the Jack Casino, the Brewdog that just opened there. What are you seeing activity moving? Where are those sirens going?
I do see a pretty good-sized crowd. Again, not really making a lot of movement at this point. Let's go ahead. In fact, I think you can see a little bit of it. Let me go ahead and shift this way since most of the action is no longer behind me here at the Justice Center. You can look down the way here. You can see that a lot of the crowd is moving in that direction. As you mentioned, I did sort of drive by Jack on my way down here. And again, I don't see a lot of organized demonstration or anything going on at this point, organized protesting. I just see a bunch of groups coming, a pretty large crowd, and it's really not clear at this point who all is protesting and who is coming down to, I guess, really observe what's happening in the city tonight.
Kristen Swilley there for us live. We also have Sina Geber-Ab on the move to Pendleton there. You can see, as we're looking live here at Kristen's shot, that police vehicle moving up Central Parkway toward the area where the Jack Casino is there, into Pendleton, the Pendleton neighborhood there. We are hearing from our crew that's moving there that some Cincinnati police officers are using their bikes as barricades around some of the businesses in Pendleton as we continue to watch this unfold live in downtown Cincinnati. I want to point out here, as we have watched this over the past several hours, that this has been, until now, there had been no property damage done. This went on for hours this evening into tonight with no property damage. Protesters got on I-75 and police shut it down in both directions earlier tonight. But beyond that, as we came up into our newscast live at 11 o'clock, at the top of the hour here, there was just a small group of people outside police headquarters, and then as we've been on the air and as we have watched this, that crowd moved from police district. We were watching people take pictures in front of the broken out glass, large pane glass window at the downtown Cincinnati, the Hamilton County Justice Center here. We are watching this live with you as this happens, and again, we are now moving a crew as well over to Pendleton, where the remainder of this crowd has moved. Again, important to note, this has been going on, this protest has been going on for hours tonight, and until the last 20 or 30 minutes, there had been no property damage. Kristen Swilley there showed us that one large pane window broken out at the exit area of the jail where people are released there. We are watching crowds still lining and gathering in Central Parkway there. That is outside of the Jobs and Family Services building right there at, I believe that's Sycamore and Central Parkway there. So a recap for you of how this has gone. Again, things did not get like this until the last 20 or 30 minutes. This started as people walked from the courthouse. They rallied at the courthouse. They walked through over the Rhine, over to Cincinnati Police Headquarters on Ezra Charles there in the West End. Then from there, they walked over to Washington Park. They walked through over the Rhine. There was a little bit of, I hesitate to even call it a confrontation with police, but they ran into some traffic issues on Liberty. They went back to police headquarters, District 1 there on Ezra Charles. From there, they went to I-75. This shut I-75 down for over a mile. They had I-75 closed from Ezra Charles up to Hopple Street for a period of time there. It looks like cars are getting by on Central Parkway, so traffic does not appear to be stopped on Central Parkway right now. Earlier tonight, after these protesters walked back from I-75, police at that point had put on what we would describe as riot gear, shields and such, to get these folks off of I-75. They walked back to Cincinnati Police Headquarters on Ezra Charles in the West End, and they stood there for quite some time. But as we came on the air live here at 11, that crowd was dispersing. A section of that crowd went back to the courthouse, where this all started at about 6 o'clock tonight. That crowd went back from there, and then, as far as we can tell, another section of that crowd moved 1 block over to the Hamilton County Justice Center. And from there, they broke one of the large windows, front-facing windows onto Sycamore Street there, and then have moved. And we have now been hearing of some criminal damaging, is what they have called it, as happening, potentially breaking windows on what has been closed now because of the pandemic, the Jack Casino, and then making their way through Pendleton here. CPD officers, we're told, in Pendleton have been using their bikes as barricades. Sina Gebrab is on her way there. We should have her at any point in time. I want to check in with our folks in the booth here. Do we have Sina yet? In Pendleton. Okay, hold on. We're watching this live. A large crowd is now running from the intersection of Central Parkway down Sycamore. They're running down into downtown from Central Parkway and Sycamore here. We see one Cincinnati police car taking off westbound on Central Parkway. That crowd dispersed very quickly.
I'm not really close enough.
Kristen Swilley is there live. Kristen, can you hear me still?
Yes, I can, Evan.
Kristen, what led up to that? We couldn't hear here while we're in the studio, while we're on the air. Was there something that was something yelled? Was something thrown? Did something pop? What happened there that caused people to run?
Sure. To be fair, Evan, we heard it honestly and noticed it about the same time that our cameras turned around to it. We just heard a burst of noise. There didn't appear to be any obvious triggering action. Again, that we can see from this vantage point, we're about half a block away. So we may move down that way. I was actually just walking around the JC here, seeing if there was in fact more damage, and there is, to some of the panels out here. So not really clear at this point, but as we were just saying, Sycamore Central Avenue, that area over there, packed with people. And then just as soon as we said that, people are no longer running. So not sure what the catalyst was for that particular movement, but it's the way it was now just a few moments ago. We'll look a little bit deeper into that and see if we can figure out what the kicking off point was for that sudden burst.
Yeah, and it now looks like people are moving back toward that intersection there now, too. So whatever that was, it didn't linger, it would appear, as people are moving there. We hear a lot of yelling in the background from our angle here, Kristen. What are you hearing? What are people yelling? Can you make it out?
Sure. Black Lives Matter, I Can't Breathe, have been some of the popular chants that we heard earlier in the day, and obviously right now as well. Again, they're about half a block down that way, so it's probably best that we move a little bit closer to be able to give you a more accurate description of what's going on. Like I said, I was surveying the damage here at the Justice Center and had not made my way down there yet. Obviously, with everything sort of exploding within the last couple of seconds down there, that probably needs to shift our focus, but those are the same chants that we've been hearing, nothing specific to anyone here in Cincinnati or even the George Floyd case at this point, just the sort of the general chants that we hear in these sort of protests.
All right, Kristen Swilley, live for us at the Hamilton County Justice Center there. We just saw this mass of people. And Kristen, you're far away, and everyone's kind of moving back down Sycamore. Can you give me an idea of how many people are gathered there at Central Parkway and Sycamore right now? I mean, from where our limited scope through the camera here, I don't want to misinterpret how many people are there, and you've got better eyes on this than I do. How many people would you say are in that intersection right now?
Conservatively, Evan, 200.
Okay, so this is a sizable gathering.
From either corner.
Okay, this is a sizable gathering at that intersection.
It need to be done.
So we have been watching here to get everyone caught up. And Kristen Swilley, I'm going to let you go ahead and do a little bit more reporting there on the ground. Please stay safe, but stay with us because we might want to come back to you here. As we have been watching here since about 11:30, this crowd that had moved from police headquarters at the top of the hour at 11 o'clock tonight, they'd moved in large part from police headquarters in the West End to the Hamilton County Courthouse there on Main Street. From there, another group moved from there over a block to the Hamilton County Justice Center, breaking at least one and damaging several of the large plate glass windows that are on the front of the Justice Center. I was told by someone online that they also ripped down the flags that are outside of the Justice Center there. And then we have heard that another group, this is live TV, everyone, so we've got to get our crew ready to move here. So that's what you're going to see, and this is going to happen. We're going to stay with you here because this is clearly still a developing situation in downtown Cincinnati. What is surprising about this is that for 5 hours tonight, this started at 6 p.m. as a protest and a rally outside the courthouse. And until 11 o'clock, there were no issues as far as beyond shutting down the interstate. I-75 was closed for a time between Ezra Charles and Hopple, a pretty large closure there as protesters got on the interstate, took that ramp from Ezra Charles down onto the interstate. But until about 11:15 tonight, there had been no criminal damaging, nothing like anything that we had seen elsewhere across the country. And we were telling you, we've been keeping eyes on Atlanta tonight, where there are large groups of people on interstates busting out windows at the CNN Center. It's happening in Minneapolis again, despite a curfew there. It is happening again in Columbus tonight, in Ohio's state capital. It is happening in Denver right now as we keep watching this. So we have two crews there, and we are working to get them moved and mobilized. We want to keep them safe, but we do need to keep showing you and telling you the story of what is happening in downtown Cincinnati tonight. To our folks in the booth, can we go back to a live picture and get back out to some live pictures here? Okay, so they are down as they move. This is for their safety as well, but also to get a better vantage point. I asked Kristen Swilley here live, and she says, okay, so here we are. Live picture is back. This is what we were watching from a distance a minute ago. This is the intersection of Central Parkway and Sycamore. This is that building on the right is the Hamilton County Job and Family Services building. That appears to be Hamilton County deputies, obviously mobilized as soon as this turned onto the Hamilton County Justice Center, the jail there downtown. You see Cincinnati Bike Patrol there blocking Sycamore that would go into Pendleton and over the Rhine, sort of the line of demarcation between those neighborhoods. There is a subway behind there. There's a parking structure there behind that building. I misspoke. The Job and Family Services building is there on the left. It's now on your right. It was on left earlier. The building that was on the right is an office building now. So you can see Central Parkway is closed at this hour here. What we saw live here just a few minutes ago was a crowd of what Kristen Swilley guesstimated was about 200 gathered in this intersection, and they all started to move, some of them running down south, down Sycamore. So we are watching this here live, and that appears that's a Metro bus, Cincinnati, about the only thing getting through is Cincinnati police and a Metro bus. There right now on Central Parkway. We are watching this. So Sina Geber Ab is also here. They are on Sycamore. They have been trying to get into Pendleton. We have heard that there was damage to the front of the casino, that big glass entrance to what is currently Jack Casino, will eventually be Hard Rock Casino, that big multiple-story glass entrance there. We were told that there was damage to that. I have not seen pictures of this. Our crew is trying to get there right now. Much of Pendleton is either shut down or backed up on traffic as people try and navigate around this. It is late here on a Friday, so there's not many people. Look at the number of police and the number of cars that are now being turned around on Central Parkway. This is from our live picture, our camera here at Sycamore and Central Parkway in downtown Cincinnati. We're looking toward the casino in that direction. It's on the right past the jail there. And I don't know if, I think Emily is running the camera there. Emily, I don't know if you can hear me, but if you can, I don't know if you can see the casino, if you can get us a shot of whether there was damage to the casino or not, as we have heard multiple times, but it looks like we are a little bit at a distance and can't quite see that at this time. So a tense night happening here in downtown Cincinnati, not nearly to the extent that we've seen in other cities across the country. This all started, and let's keep the focus on this here too. This has been going on in Minneapolis for days now, 4 straight nights, after an officer, a Minneapolis police officer, kneeled on the neck of George Floyd. This lasted 10 minutes on a cell phone video. George Floyd, a suspect potentially in a 911 call about a forgery, about fake bills, and taken down onto the ground, and an officer there who has been fired. The officers who were with him have been fired, and the officer who knelt on his neck today was charged with murder and taken into custody. Signs of solidarity have been happening across the country in just about every major city here, and we are seeing it in downtown Cincinnati tonight. Again, pushing now 6 hours of protests in downtown Cincinnati. I was here 5 years ago. I moved here and started at WCPO after Ferguson happened. And that's the last time I remember when protesters shut down an interstate. And they shut down kind of the same trajectory as we saw tonight, where they moved from police headquarters at District 1 on Ezra Charles in the West End and moved down the ramp on Ezra Charles onto 75. This lasted probably twice as long. Police 5 years ago stopped traffic, and that lasted maybe 30 minutes. This lasted probably twice as long tonight. But we have not seen a protest like this in downtown Cincinnati in at least 5 years. And even 5 years ago, we did not see the damaging that we have seen. Again, not much, but some on the front of the Justice Center and around the Justice Center, and now potentially we've heard maybe in Pendleton and outside the casino. What we are watching here is the police response and what, for all accounts, is a blockade of Central Parkway in downtown Cincinnati here, right at Sycamore Broadway area. There, Broadway is where you're looking. You can see the sign for it there. Our photographer standing at Sycamore and Central Parkway, where a crowd of, even just about 10 minutes ago, a crowd of about 200 some people, by Kristen Swilley's estimate, who was there, was gathered, and then many of them took off coming down Sycamore. We don't know what caused that, but Kristen Swilley said she had heard any number of sounds. There's been a lot of chanting, people chanting Black Lives Matter, I can't breathe, which has sort of been the rallying cry here in honor of George Floyd and his death that called a murder. That former officer in Minneapolis charged today with murder. What we see is it appears Central Parkway may start to reopen. We've been watching this sort of Hamilton County deputy vehicle ballet, for lack of a better word here, as they've been moving. They were spacing out. They were clumped together a little bit ago, but that intersection has been closed now for quite some time. So to recap for you, we are staying on the air right now because there has been, in the last 45 to 50 minutes, a change in the tone in downtown Cincinnati. These protests started with a rally at Cincinnati, at the Hamilton County Courthouse, I should say. They're about 6 o'clock tonight. A peaceful rally. They marched, those folks involved marched through over the Rhine, over to police headquarters at District 1 on Ezra Charles, and they rallied there for a little bit. And they walked back through Washington Park and through over the Rhine up to Liberty Street and moved back to District 1, went to the interstate, back to District 1, and then everything changed when they left District 1 and went back to the courthouse, and a group of them moved off and damaged the Justice Center and has moved to Pendleton. Reporter Sina Gebra-Ab is now up live in the Pendleton area. I believe, Sina, you're about 13th and Sycamore area right now, so you're kind of near, my understanding is, the Treehouse Bar, OTR Live, into Pendleton's business district there. So on this side, you're directly across really from where Kristen Swilley is. On this side of things, what are you seeing? What are you hearing? Give us an update, a sense of the scene there for us.
Well, Evan, we just got here just about 2 or 3 minutes ago, and we're at the intersection of Sycamore and Reading, not far from the casino. And what we're seeing is that Sycamore, the intersection here, Reading, is completely closed here at Sycamore. You can see Cincinnati police on their bikes, almost using their bikes as barricades here to block this end of Reading. And then we're seeing several police vehicles on the other side blocking the entrance further down to to the casino. Now, we have not been down there yet, but we're planning on heading down there to see what exactly is going on. But like we said, the intersection here of Sycamore and Reading is closed, and we're just going to stay here, continue to see what we can find out. We haven't really spoken to anybody. There haven't been too many people walking by through here. Right now, it is pretty vacant, but we're, of course, going to stick around here and see what is going on and what's unfolding closer over there to the casino, Evan.
Sina, I need you to clarify something. We have heard what would appear to be loud bangs behind you, and I was told we were hearing it before we came up on your live shot. What are you hearing there? Do you know what that's from?
I have not heard any bangs, loud noises or loud bangs like you mentioned. Like I said, we did just get here about 2 or 3 minutes ago, so there might have been noises that have occurred prior to us getting here, but even driving over here, my photographer Maddie and I did not hear any loud noises, but we will definitely keep our ears peeled for anything like that, Evan.
Okay, very good. So we are kind of hearing these things pop up around us. So I want to bring us back here. We are looking now live from our tower cam here toward the casino. Again, we were following reports that there had been some damage done to the front of the casino there, that big glass face as it sits on Central Parkway, which we cannot see from this angle. But as we look live there at the casino, all quiet on the eastern front of the casino there. I do want to set that scene for you. We saw on Central Parkway, both behind Sina and from Kristen Swilley's angle, both Cincinnati police bike cops there. There were Hamilton County deputies and Ohio State Highway Patrol there that were in those cars that were moving around. I misidentified some of those earlier. Sorry, I'm getting updates here. So I want to send this back to Kristen Swilley because, Kristen, I understand things are happening again where you are. So we want to get back to you to get us a live picture here. Kristen, are you there? What's going on there at Sycamore and Central Parkway?
Yeah, Evan, you just referenced a loud bang. I asked an officer, just one of the people, one of the deputies walking around. I was like, is that a flash bang? Is that, something else? It's certainly not. They clarified that it was not gunfire. So if that's any sort of consolation for people who live in this area or trying to get through this area, that's helpful. But it sounds a lot like a flashbang. Waiting to get that obviously confirmed. I can tell you that Central Parkway is there in the process, as you mentioned, of reopening it. It seems like we're starting to get a little bit more action further away from me at the other end, but they're working, as you can see. And let me step out of the way here so you can see the state troopers just sort of coming through up Central. There's a Metro bus here. It's empty, so there's no one affected on that. But they seem to be slowly but surely trying to reopen this area. The crowd is pretty much dispersed from where we are, and again has headed further away from me, further down Central Avenue, Central Parkway at this point. So it seems like things have de-escalated a little bit. We did see when we first got here, there was a car that pulled up, a cruiser that pulled up. Everyone took off their traditional hats and put on helmets, but we didn't see anything really escalate beyond that, just a sort of a precautionary measure, it appears to be at this point. So as I step back in here, I just want to say that, again, most of the crowd seems to have moved on a little bit further down that way. It did also sound like someone may have run into the back of someone because it sounded like a car crash. That I can tell. That much I can tell you. So we're going to go ahead and potentially reposition ourselves to get a little bit closer without putting ourselves in any sort of harm or putting the police in any sort of harm, and get a little bit closer to paint a better picture of what's going on at this point. But again, as I move out of the way here, you can see traffic is starting to resume. The Metro bus just took off, and things are getting a little bit more cleared up. Of course, there is the SWAT truck out here, but now you can see, as Emily's pointing down that way, that's now where most of the activity is. So we're going to go ahead and shift, if you guys can allow us a few moments, whether you take us live on air, keep us live, or go to someone else. We're going to shift that way to get a better view of how this protest has evolved and where it's moving throughout town.
All right, Kristen Swilley, thank you so much. Go ahead and move there. We come back to us here. If you are just now joining us here, as we are very close to the midnight hour now, we have been on the air for the past hour with you. What started as a long but very peaceful protest in downtown Cincinnati at 6 o'clock tonight outside the Hamilton County Courthouse. It meandered through downtown and over the Rhine. At one point, it got on I-75, closing the interstate. But in the last 50 minutes, the tone has changed in downtown Cincinnati and in over the Rhine. We are now following, we have multiple crews following multiple different groups of protesters that have moved, first damaging the Hamilton County Justice Center on Sycamore there, breaking some of the windows there, tearing the flags down. We've heard reports of damage in the Pendleton neighborhood, namely the casino. We have not seen that on our live pictures yet. We are just hearing that from folks on the ground. And now we are hearing that these crews, these protesters, I should say, are moving again through over the Rhine, potentially back to police headquarters. Our crews are moving. That's why you're seeing me right now. Again, this is all in response and in solidarity with those protesting tonight on the fourth night in Minneapolis there after the death of George Floyd, suffocated in a sense by an officer's knee on his neck. That officer was fired. The officers who were with him were fired. You have likely seen the video by now. We're not going to show that to you, showing a man die, but this lasted about 10 minutes in Minneapolis. That officer hours ago was charged with murder and taken into custody. So we've been following all of these protests and these rallies in solidarity with those in Minneapolis who have been protesting and rallying and at times rioting for the past 4 nights. We want to go back out live now to Sina Gebrab. She is in Pendleton. She has been there for a little bit watching things happen. Sina, what do you've got for us right now?
Well, Evan, we've made our way to the casino, and we're not really seeing any people here, but a whole lot of police vehicles. We're seeing Cincinnati police as well as state troopers as well, blocking off a good portion of Central Parkway, starting here at Eggleston, right where you see Jack Casino, continuing on to Main Street, and I think a little bit even further than that. We're also seeing a SWAT vehicle down there. Again, not seeing any crowds here, but law enforcement is definitely set up and ready, and I see that this closure actually continues past Jack Casino here on Central Parkway. My photographer and I also heard helicopters overhead surveying the area. Not really sure where they're heading exactly now, but they've also got eyes from the sky, it seems, right now. Again, no crowds here. We haven't really seen any people congregating, and even from where we were at Sycamore and Reading, it looks like that intersection has slowly reopened. Again, not many people there as well, but we're just going to keep staying here and monitoring what happens. Oh, and it looks like, well, these police vehicles are now moving. One thing we have noticed is that law enforcement is constantly moving, so one intersection will be closed, and then that'll reopen, and they'll move to another spot where they'll monitor and close off the road. So it's really just a game of trying to keep up with everywhere that they're moving right now.
So, all right, Sina Gebrab there in Pendleton outside the Jack Casino there. Kristen Swilley is on the move with shortly behind some of the protesters there as well. So to get you caught up, this has now moved from downtown back into over the Rhine. This has kind of been in that same area all night, and really there was no damage. This was peaceful until an hour ago. As we were coming on the air at 11, the scene seemed to be dispersing, and a group that had gathered, a large group that had gathered outside police headquarters on Ezra Charles in the West End, moved